everybody, and welcome to another great episode of My EdTech Life. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful, wonderful evening, or it may be well into the day, depending on where you are joining us around the world. As always, thank you so much for making My EdTech Life part of your day. We definitely appreciate all the likes, shares, and follows, all the comments. Thank you so much for all the downloads as well, and just continuing to support our mission of connecting educators and creators one show at a time. And I'm really excited about today's chat. We have a returning guest, and many of you, the face may seem very familiar because Mike Rutherford has been a guest in the past of My EdTech Life. And we definitely talked about his platform. We talked about the wonderful work that he's doing. And now he is back because there are some great updates that he is going to share. And as you know, there is AI is all the buzz that is happening in the education landscape and really in every landscape. So I'm just really excited to talk to Mike and just hear about the amazing updates that have been or have taken place and the work that he is doing on his platform. So, Mike, how are you this evening? Glad to see you back here, my friend.
Hey, thank you, Fonz. Thanks for having me on again. As I told you before, I used to, I've watched listened and watched your podcast for a long time and always wanted to be on it. And here I am on it a second time. So it's a big honor of mine. So thank you very much for having me back again.
Oh, my friend, absolutely. And again, this is also a kind of like a testament to what I always tell all my guests. I always let them know either during the show or after the show or before the show. I always say, look, once you are a guest, you are a member of my PLF, my personal learning family. But not only that, as being a guest, you also have an open invite to come back and share any updates or any projects. And I am thankful, Mike, that you reached out to me. And as soon as you got this going and you said, hey, this is what's happening. We've got some updates and I want to share. And I said, absolutely, Mike, we'll definitely make it happen. So I'm definitely grateful that you took me up on that offer and just want to share that with everybody because I get so excited when I have, amazing friends like yourself that are doing some amazing things and just definitely want to put it out there and share in our education space. So again, thank you so much for that. And Mike, before we get started with all these amazing updates and so on, I know, like I said, you have been a guest on the show. However, we may have some new audience members that are joining us today live and are still not very familiar of who you are yet. So I would like to go ahead and just start the way we always start a show. And we always treat all our guests sort of that like a superhero because of the work that they're doing that I really look at and admire. And we know that every superhero has an origin story. So Mike, can you go ahead and just give us also a little brief introduction and just a little bit of your origin story and your work now in the education landscape?
Sure. Well, thank you. I'm a teacher, classroom teacher. I started as a middle school teacher and way back in the 90s, actually, and got into technology in being able to have technology and the internet in my classroom via a modem, which was always interesting to try to get a phone line into your classroom. Now no one even cares about that, but because everybody has access outside. And I was really excited. Not only did I like technology, I knew the kids did as well. And it kind of lit a spark in people. And it was a way that we could build and generate and create in a whole different way than a classroom without technology. So I was a teacher for a while. Then I became a technology training specialist, eventually a district technology coordinator, and then left education and went to a company called Blackboard and started their K-12 group and brought the learning management system to the K-12 market back in 1999. And did that for a few years and eventually left that right when we went public, and I joined an educational publisher, it did a lot of professional development. And the reason why I tell you this is that it leads into what I'm doing now. I did a lot with over 250 to 300,000 leads, prospects, and customers of this company. And I had to manage all of those people. And when someone called in, we had to know what they had done in the past. We had to know their names. some in our notes even kept what they, what they had bought, what their dog's name were. If we kept all that kind of information. It was fantastic because you can't remember everything. It just isn't the case. Well, make a long story short, my wife gets the opportunity to move overseas, and we decided to take our family and move overseas. And I returned to the classroom as a teacher. When I went back in the classroom, I found that there was a tool, the same tool that I had brought from higher ed into the K-12 space was still the same tool that everybody was using, the learning management system. And it was still built around the same teacher-centered concept. So I decided to build my own platform because it didn't meet what I needed, and it didn't track all of the things that students did. Like when I used to track those customers I was telling you about, when I had the 250 to 300,000, where we kept how they were as their customer journey. We didn't have anything in education to do the student journey. So make a long story short, I built one in the classroom. It was really cool. It was very difficult to try to be a really good teacher and also a software developer and still have a normal life on the outside. So when I left, I went ahead and started up a company and hired engineers to build version 2, which is now gotLearning, which we talked about in the last show. And it'll kind of leads into, we capture all that learning. We capture learning as it's occurring, as opposed to just at the end. Very similar to a CRM system in the business side, but the teacher and student co-create that learning. So that's what gotLearning is. And now one of the reasons why you're having me on here now is because of some of the AI tools that we've been building. And I know we're going to get into a lot about AI coming forward, but we have some exciting things about how we're incorporating safe and responsible AI tools into the classroom.
Perfect. Wonderful. And, it's amazing. Like, the tool, you found a problem, you came up with a solution. And so just to go back just a little bit also, because I don't want you to gloss over gotLearning, because gotLearning is something amazing. And so what I love about it, like you mentioned, is just the way that you're able to track the learning. You're able to go ahead and get back and forth and have just learning artifacts and things of that sort that you're able to as a teacher. That's something that is very important, and for students as well. So if you can tell us just a little bit more of gotLearning, and then that way we'll work our way into the gotFeedback component of it, because I think it's definitely great that we're putting these two platforms essentially together, and I think it's just a great combination.
Okay, excellent. Well, when I returned to the classroom, I had found a very different classroom than I had left. We still had the 4 walls. I still had 25 to 30 kids, but each of them now had a laptop or a tablet, and it was connected to the internet. And so they were able to create and generate so much qualitative learning data that I felt like I was spending so much of my time searching for that qualitative learning data, and so did the students, because it could have been in the notebook, it could have been in an online document, it could have been emailed to me, could have been texted to me, it could be printed out, it could be who knows where these things were. And I had to try to manage all those, and so did the students. I was teaching 6th grade English language arts and social studies. And they had 8 classes, and they had to manage all this stuff. And that executive functioning is very difficult at that age, and it's still difficult at my age with that many things. That I knew there had to be something better that kept all of the information about our learning interactions all in one place. And when I say, one of the traditional teaching models that is just, generative AI is blown out of the water, is the one where a teacher transmit content to students. The student passively receives. Then they're asked to do an assignment or a test to show that they have knowledge. And then they receive a grade. That model is completely obsolete now. And all of our professional development for the past 20 years have been trying to say, don't do that. But it is now done, because that section where the student can do the assignment or the test, that can now be done by ChatGPT pretty well, especially with some just adding changes to it and everything else. So what I like about gotLearning and having that as a teacher was I was able to capture the learning as it was occurring. And so the students' question and answers, their questions about the assignment or about the content that we went over, or what did I want them to show, know, and be able to do, or whatever standard or competency we were working on, they could ask questions. I could provide answers. They could do a rough draft. I could provide feedback. Peers could provide feedback. They could do revisions, get more feedback. Maybe I offer scaffolding, do some reteaching. All of those kind of things could be captured into one place. And so that the student and the teacher could see, I think I had a spider on my head. That was pretty exciting. Sorry about that. In having all those things in one place made life a lot easier for me and the student to be able to focus on the student's learning. And what was brilliant about it is this was one of the coolest things that I could do inside the classroom, was to ask the students, okay, let's go back and look at what we did last and look at the feedback that you received and what you did, and also your reflection on your learning, so that we could build going forward. And so we started really getting into student agency and having students own their learning, knowing where they were in their learning and where they were going next, all at an individual level that I didn't have a tool to do that before. That wasn't necessarily the plan starting out when I built it. I just wanted to be organized and be able to get to student learning as quickly as possible and not have to constantly search for things. But once that started happening, I saw students' writing just improve immensely because they could build upon what they were doing previously. And then it became super, and I'm going to start using sixth grade vernacular. It sounds like super cool. What really became super cool was when we went to things like parent-teacher conferences, where the student can say, okay, here's where I was as a writer in August, and now it's late October. Well, I used to state claims, but I really didn't give evidence. I just stated the claim and wanted you to do it and move on. Now I actually, when I'm writing persuasively, I state a claim, I can give evidence, and you can see from my writing in August to where I am in October, how much I've grown as a writer. And that right there is something that we need to be doing in the classroom. And technology allows us to, and so many teachers are doing it, but we need to have the technology that makes it easier and more efficient and effective for teachers and students to do that. And be able to provide that feedback along the way. And so that's mainly what gotLearning does. It is a system, a teaching and learning ecosystem that basically writes all the frustrations I had about an LMS, if you will. So
Yeah, no, and you know what? I love everything that you said, and I'm glad that you repeated that, because I know we talked about it in the previous episode when you hopped on, but just hearing it again and over again. I mean, for a lot of educators out there, I think one of the biggest things also is just, being able to have those learning artifacts, and like you said, being able to show that growth and through assignments, and not just simply stating, in a meeting, whether it's an RTI or if it's a 504 meeting or anything that the student may need some additional supports. Sometimes as teachers, and at least at the very beginning, it's like, oh, well, you just go and say, oh, well, this is what they need and so on. But now here you definitely have that data, you have that collection, you're able to show that growth. And that's something that is definitely wonderful. And like you said, it does right a lot of those LMS issues, and that are out there. And obviously we know that not every LMS is perfect, but when you have something like this that you can go ahead and just bring out and say, here are the learning artifacts, and this is the growth from now, from October, like you said, till maybe December or May at the end of the year. That's something that's great. Now, I know when you first got here, or actually the first time that you were on the show, it was just kind of at the very beginning, where everybody was kind of talking about Chat GPT and, seeing what was happening and was going on. I know you mentioned it a couple of times right now, also during, your description of what gotLearning is able to do. So I'm excited now for this next phase, or this next part that you came up with, that now I'm very excited about too as well. And you reached out to me. So tell us a little bit about gotFeedback, or that extension of, what you were already doing with gotLearning, but now with that AI component. I want to know, like, what went through Mike Rutherford's mind to say, yes, because of this Chat GPT, now we can do this.
well, here's, basically generative AI is a fantastic tool, and it's something that can help in so many different ways. I'm going to make a quick statement to say that, there's generative AI is very different than adaptive AI. Generative AI creates data, where adaptive AI does something in reaction to what the user does. There's a lot of adaptive AI EdTech out there that, is some of it has a goal of replacing the teacher or taking a lot of load off the teacher so they don't have to interact with kids as much, and that the computer could do that. I'm not too key on adaptive AI right now. Because I don't want the pendulum to swing so far along that we're all, students are just looking at their computers and being regurgitated data, because that's not how learning occurs. Learning and intelligence is built on human interaction. So I really believe generative AI can help on the interaction side. And that's one of the big things about gotLearning is trying to mimic what goes on inside of a classroom, the back and forth conversations that students and teachers have, or students and teachers and administrators and parents have every day. We want to increase the human interaction. So what does gotFeedback have to do with that? Well, there's some really awesome things that generative AI can do. And especially if you're prompted correctly, it can be a great tool to provide suggested feedback for teachers and eventually students. And so when I was talking with you last, we were building it, and we really weren't going to release it at all until it was ready to go into gotLearning. And we just got really frustrated of all the things that were being released out of how to stop how to stop students from using ChatGPT and other generative AI. And that seemed to be like the biggest thing. Everybody's like, oh, we have a way. And it's like, wait a second. We've been down this road before. We did it, with calculators. Granted, I was 5 years old. I don't remember it, but I remember, all the different things that I've read about it. I do remember when the computers went in the classroom and they thought they were going to replace teachers, when the internet became active, available high speed inside of a class, that was going to replace teachers. I remember some things saying VCRs were, and TVs were going to replace teachers, and then Google was going to replace teachers. All of those things are just not in generative AI are not going to, or even adaptive AI is not going to replace teachers, because we live in a world where learning is interactive with other humans. How do you teach collaboration skills if you're only looking at a computer screen? How do you do analysis? How do you teach leadership? How do you teach working with how do you do problem-based learning if you're not working with other people? Can you do it individually? Yes, but that doesn't mirror what goes on in our world. So I think generative AI has a good place in education, and so does adaptive AI. But we're choosing the generative AI to help teachers and students receive suggested feedback on their work. So we went ahead and released gotFeedback as a standalone tool, basically a proof of concept, basically demonstrating the usefulness of generative AI, a safe and easy way for teachers to have an on-ramp into using AI in their classroom. Because the feedback they get doesn't immediately go to the student. The teacher sees it and chooses whether or not it should go to the student. So they're actually moderating the chat. We are actually using a version of ChatGPT in this engine. We are in our, and I'll talk about this a little bit later down the road. We're moving away from OpenAI and ChatGPT to another tool set. But we wanted to make a super easy way that teachers could use a tool, and that's why we created gotFeedback.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, I definitely love it. And I want to definitely share this with everybody who is joining us today. So here's a little bit of gotFeedback, and just so you can kind of see. And Mike, just explain to us a little bit about what, for example, I'm a teacher. I've never seen this before. So just go ahead and give me a little rundown here of what it is that we are looking at.
Sure. We built this tool and we made it available. You can get it at feedback.gotlearning.com, and or you can just put in gotfeedback.io. It'll also take it there. And this eventually we're incorporating this into our platform, so teachers inside the platform can do everything that we're doing right here, right here that we're going to show you in a second, with documents inside of student records inside of our collaborative learning system. So what you see here is just a super easy tool to use to get feedback on student work. We have created a drop down there. It says provide feedback on, and Fonz, you can go ahead and click on that one that says narrative structure. If you can click on that drop down box that says provide feedback on, go ahead and click on that. And you'll see that there are 4 prompts that we made. Not coming down for you?
Yeah, let me see. Give me a second here. Let me go ahead and, tech happens. So let me go here. Let me just go ahead and now just do the whole entire screen. And then that way there's no issue here. So that way we'll make sure that we are good to go. And let's see if we can go here. There we go. So let me go ahead and drop down. There you go.
So here we're very lucky to have our director, my co-founder and director of software engineering, Dylan Medina, he earned his PhD in how humans learn to write. How I got a guy that is also a programmer to do this is just an absolute gift in a lot of ways. So he's written 4 very good prompts about narrative structure, details in the writing, claims in this writing, and evidence in this writing. So now, granted, these prompts that we have here are really good for English language arts and probably science and mathematics if you're writing in there, especially with the claims and evidence part. But if you don't need any of these things, because we wanted to create that easy on-ramp, you can go down to write a custom prompt and use your own prompt if you want to. So you can click there and it'll pop up and it'll show you another place where you can put your custom prompt in. Now, Fonz, you have chosen either a Word or PDF file right now, which I believe is that a post that you made?
Yeah, actually, yeah. What I did ahead of time, I uploaded a blog post that I wrote. It's AI in education, empowering educators and students in the age of technology. And I just popped this in here just so we can do a test run and just share with people what this powerful tool can do, which is gotFeedback. So walk me through here. What would I do first, or what would you like for me to do here so we can demonstrate?
If it's a blog post, let's go ahead and say that you can go up to write a custom prompt and click on the custom prompt and go down to, for this one, you could actually say, you could probably say details in the writing if you want. If you want to use a custom prompt, you could as well.
Okay, so where do you want me to go then?
You can click on details in this writing.
Okay, details in this writing.
And now if you were using, I know it says PDFs or Word. If you were using Google Docs, you could just copy and paste your Google Doc text right into this window. Okay. And then go ahead and click on evaluate. And basically it'll take that document and look for the details in it and give feedback to Fonz. Now the prompts that we've written are written so that it tries to come back at a student level, written that you could use. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that here are some tips to make your details more writing compelling, and it'll give you examples of from the writing. It actually it says add examples and anecdotes to illustrate your points. For instance, when discussing the concern of plagiarism. So it's not, and if you read, and I've actually read this post by Fonz, if you read his post, you'll see he does talk about plagiarism. So it actually gives feedback specific to the document that you're working on or the writing that has been submitted. And you can choose to copy that. There's a little copy button, and you can copy and paste that into whatever you want to. If you're using it inside of gotLearning, it goes right into the thread of the document, and you can choose you can choose to just submit it and give it to the student. You can delete, you can do whatever you want. You might even want, and in gotLearning, you can record a video or record audio, whatever you want to do from this prompt. But if you just want to try using feedback in your classroom, super easy using AI, this is a great tool and a great on-ramp that's very, very easy for you to do.
Wow, Mike, first of all, I got to say, as a former elementary teacher, and I know writing was one of the things that we definitely had to work with. And I know, and I'm not sure if other states do it, but I'm sure they do, but we call it here writing across curriculum. And to be able to do that and have a tool like this and be able to give students feedback in an instantaneous way, I'm telling you, in my experience, it was very different where I had 30, pieces of notebook paper, or or even when I started using my Chromebooks, and students were turning that in, I called it, instead of my physical stack, I called it my digital stack of papers that I had. But it was very ominous many times, where it's like, oh, I got to read all this, I got to do all this. And I'm not saying, teachers, this is in no way, shape, or form like, hey, don't read through the content, but this is a wonderful tool that I myself can see that the days of taking that little milk crate with you with composition notebooks, or the days of having stacks and piles of practice writing and so on, and being able to do this, and your students being able to do this, and like Mike said, being able to pop this into the thread in gotLearning, and just accumulate those examples and all that feedback, show that growth. This to me is very powerful. So Mike, I mean, just the evaluation here that it gives me, the 3 points, and you're absolutely right, makes it very nice and clear and concise in a language that I can understand. And it just tells me, okay, what to do. And I can go back and revisit my work, rewrite it, reword it, whatever it is. And then I can go ahead and submit it again for, a second, preview, and then finally submit my final paper. And this is amazing, because also, as you know, so much information out there on ChatGPT and prompts, and everybody either wants you to subscribe to get prompts, or they want to sell prompts, or they want to do those things. And oftentimes, as teachers, that could be a very frustrating pain point, where now it's like, I have to come up with the right prompt. But you already provide teachers with these various prompts here, depending on what it is that they need for narrative structure, details, claims, evidence, or the ability to write their own prompt. Mike, this is amazing. I'm really excited for this. And I'm very excited, hopefully the teachers that'll definitely be using this, where this is going to be in the show notes. And of course, we'll be sharing this with everybody. But this is something that is wonderful, Mike. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Fonz, we're super excited, because we believe that this is the tip of the iceberg in regard to what we're doing with AI inside of our teaching and learning ecosystem. And this has given us a lot of good data, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback from teachers on gotFeedback. But it really is the tip of the iceberg. And as I mentioned before, we're moving away from, we're going to move away from using ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is not a trained model. The model is not trained to be a feedback tool in pedagogy, in the art of teaching the child, or in our schools, or even providing feedback to teachers. So we, and I think I alluded this to you earlier, is that, or I actually emailed and told you about it, is that we were accepted into the NVIDIA Inception program for startups, which allows us access to their AI technology, their tools, and their expertise. So we'll be switching over to the Nemo LLM framework for reference and training. And so we're going to start making tools that are specifically trained for the classroom. And that is a very key thing, because ChatGPT is not set up for that. And that's why right now we have it moderated, where teachers get to choose that. But as we start building things and putting up what are called guardrails, we will be making tools so that teachers could provide prompts in places for students to be able to ask for feedback and get that timely feedback right then and there. But what's awesome, because we capture learning as it occurs, the teacher and the student can see that feedback. Even though the student might do it at 11:30 p.m. at night on a Sunday night, you're still going to have access to that feedback and be able to say, okay, this isn't good, or it's not good, or whatever it may be. But you're going to be talking about their writing in certain ways. And we are super excited about a lot of the other things that we're going to be adding into the platform, because once you're capturing all of this data in one place, being able to get analysis of what students and what whole classes are doing, the possibilities become really, really awesome in regard to using AI. And so we're super excited about working with NVIDIA on doing just that.
Perfect. Hey, well, tell us a little bit about that process. And I know that I briefly, let me go back to that page here because I know that you have it on the gotlearning.com under blogs also as well. So I definitely tell us a little bit about that opportunity and that process because this was great news. When I saw this, I was like, all right, I think I even shot you a text message or something. And I just said, congratulations, this is awesome. So tell us a little bit about this and how or the process that you went through and got selected for this.
Well, one of the things is NVIDIA. If people don't know NVIDIA is basically the hardware company that powers AI. They're the one that powers AI, powers crypto, powers anything that has a lot of math involved. And since AI is really just really eloquent, beautiful math, it's run on processors for NVIDIA. So OpenAI's ChatGPT runs on NVIDIA hardware, all those kind of things. But NVIDIA has been doing this for a while, and they also have a lot of software and a lot of tools. And so we were contacted and came up with we're suggested to apply for the program. So we did, and tell them a little bit about what we're doing and how we're going to do things. And we're accepted in the program. So we're going to start working with their AI technology and also some of their pre-made tools. Some of their, they really help us in regard to using tools to help train the models so that we can, we can put guardrails up that make sure that our AI is not trying to do romantic things or things like ChatGPT can do. We want to make it specific so we can have safe and responsible tools inside the classroom. Because we all know that all of the states in our country got blindsided by this. We know regulations are coming because they have to. So we want to be safe and responsible and build it the way that we know we're not doing data the wrong way or providing information that we don't need to be doing. So NVIDIA will help us with a lot of those things with their tool sets and their expertise that'll be available to us.
And that is wonderful, Mike. And
Yeah, we're excited.
yeah, no, this is so exciting, like you said, and the fact that you get to work and team up with NVIDIA, you get all of that access. And I mean, and like you said, the AI is only going to get better. And I love also just hear you being very vocal about wanting to do this right. And I think right now what we're seeing is because you've got a lot of people out there that, it just seems like they just want to be the first ones out there doing something, and then of course making that money and doing all of those things. But the fact that you're taking your time to do this right and do it right, and for the student experience, teacher experience, as we know, like, and you mentioned early too, the privacy issue. And I know that that's one of my things that I have always kind of just remain in the middle. Like, I am here and I get so excited, but then at the same time, I always see the other side and I was like, okay, well, how safe is this? What are they going to do with the data? And, and through research, you find out like, wow, data rentiership and what they do with that data. And, oftentimes, as the saying goes, if the platform is free, then you are the product. But, and those are some of the things that I know that kind of go into this. But the fact that you're saying, you know what, we're going to do this right, I think that speaks volumes. And with the way that you've done things so far, just through gotLearning and now doing gotFeedback, I definitely see that you guys are going to have tremendous success, because what you're doing right now to help educators, really giving them that time back, but also being very efficient. You're not replacing anything, because like you mentioned, your vision too is actually what you've explained is that the learning is collaborative. This tool is not here to replace teachers, but it's here to help us be more efficient and be able to maybe even go deeper too in the writing and learning process.
Increasing, and we want to increase human interaction.
Yeah.
We don't want it to be a transactional nature between the teacher and student, because in the real world, it's not. But in the technology world, it is. And that's what we want. We're trying to change that.
That is great. And now, Mike, so let's talk a little bit about this again. So, for anybody is currently right now, and I just that way we can make it clear here on the show for Got Feedback, is this readily available to anybody that wants to sign up, or what would be the process for somebody that listened to this podcast, gets really excited about this, and wants to go try out Got Feedback? What would they need to do?
They just need to go to gotFeedback or I'm sorry, feedback.gotlearning.com. And all you have to do is put in it'll ask you for a username, password. You just have to sign up with your name and your email address. And then you have access to Got Feedback. We're not charging for it. This is a tool we wanted to give back to teachers so that they have a safe, easy on-ramp to try this. And it's really helped us getting feedback from teachers what they want. And we're taking this tool and putting it into our platform, and our other AI tools we're adding into that platform. And we're building a group of pilot schools right now that are the ones that are interested in this kind of pedagogy that gotLearning does of meeting students where they are and leading them and individuals in new directions. But also are interested in being on the forefront of using safe and responsible AI in schools. We're building these pilots for next year so that they'll have full access to our AI tools as we roll out and be able to provide feedback on those over time. But if teachers just want to use Got Feedback, just go to feedback.gotlearning.com and they can use it all day, every day.
Perfect. That is wonderful, Mike. And I know that you did pop in some resources in here. So let me go ahead and go back to that real quick that I just wanted to share. Real quick, teachers, there is a little resource here where it brings you up to a little prompt guide that I know that oh, sorry, I thought I had it up. Here we go. Little prompt guide. It's like a little blog, just little things to follow. So I love this that you put that information in here. Also, you've got your introducing Got Feedback and about gotLearning. And again, teachers, I mean, I couldn't ask for a simpler platform. If I was in the classroom and having something like this where I can just upload a document and then just go ahead and select the kind of feedback that I would love to give to my students, whether it's through a document here, Word or PDF, or I can just copy and paste some text and pop it in here. Right now, like we just tested it out on my blog. I did it again here with just details in this writing. And look at the great feedback that it gives. 4 points, gives me some great examples of what to follow, what to do to get a little bit better at my writing. And so this is great. So educators, please make sure that you do go visit feedback.gotlearning.com. The link will definitely be in the show notes. And again, Mike, just thank you so much for coming back and sharing this with everybody. I cannot wait to cut these clips out and just put them out there and just to share and put out these videos here too as well, because this is something that's wonderful. And again, congratulations again on being selected by NVIDIA and being able to work with their team to continue to improve your platform. And a big shout out as well, Mike, for being very conscientious of, maybe just being very careful as far as privacy, data, and your willingness to just wait things out and say, we're going to do this right. So thank you so much for that too as well, because like I mentioned, right now it's like the Wild West out there and everybody's doing something. And my biggest thing is sometimes as teachers, we're those early adopters. We just hop from platform to platform to platform, and it's just there's an overabundance, and then at the same time we don't know what may be happening on the back end. So thank you for that too as well. I really appreciate it. So Mike, again, real quick before we wrap up with our final 3 questions, so you get to do this round again, but again, a way that our audience members can connect with you directly, if you want to share that also, in case they may have any questions or are interested in possibly being one of those pilot schools, and also maybe how they can reach out to you on social media.
Sure. Okay. First off, if they want to reach me directly, you can just hit me at mike@gotlearning.com, which would be great. On social media, we're on Twitter. It's at growth over time. And you can see us there. Also, LinkedIn is also, I believe, is growth over time or
yeah, it's growth. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's gotLearning.
Yeah, should be absolutely no problem. So you can get us there, but definitely check out gotLearning.com because you can jump on the gotLearning teaching and learning ecosystem that we built. There is a free version for teachers, and there are hundreds of teachers using it now. And if you need any help with it, hit me up with that email. Me or my co-founder or someone else here at gotLearning, we are teachers, so we definitely can speak the language. We can help you out in any way. We'd love to make your life a little bit easier and more effective as a teacher. And because of that, it'll also make the students' lives a little bit more effective and efficient in regard to their learning, because you can focus right on their learning at any time you want.
Excellent, Mike. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for coming back. And here is the last three questions, my favorite segment here, where we kind of end the show just kind of on a little lighter note too as well. Again, Mike, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. And now with your experience since the last time that you were on the show, and I know we talked about ChatGPT, for a little bit there in that last episode, as this was something that was, kind of coming out. So now my question to you is, I know normally I ask the EduCryptonite, but since we are talking AI, Mike, in the current state of AI, what would you say is your current AI kryptonite?
I would have to say, and it's very similar to my other one, but when we weren't even talking about it, is control and compliance of people being afraid of this. AI is not going to replace the teacher's job. So my AI kryptonite is people just saying, absolutely not, I don't want to use this, because it's a tool that students have access to right now. It's not that they're going to have access to it. They have access to it on their computer, on their phone, anytime they want. We need to embrace and learn how to use it. Using AI to try to fight AI use, that's a losing battle. We've been down that road before. So we have to figure out, change our ways of doing things, whether we do more project-based learning, competency-based education, whatever it may be. We need to know our students. We need to help them get ownership of their learning, let them guide their learning in certain ways. And you need certain platforms for that. It's one of the reasons why we built gotLearning. But that's what I would say is my biggest thing is the control and compliance issue.
Excellent. Great answer, Mike. Thank you so much. All right, Mike, question number 2 is, and I know I asked you this again, so now you get to have a second billboard now, but now in this case, all right, if you could have that second billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Second billboard, anything on it. I don't want to go back and say the same thing that I said before. But I think it's a good one. Is I would say, be curious, not judgmental. And I know that was on Ted Lasso and it was misquoted to Walt Whitman, but be curious, not judgmental, I think is so great of a thing, not only for us, but for our students, that ask that question, why? Why are we doing things a certain way? Why, if we've been doing the same things the same way for the past 25 years and we're complaining about nothing's changed, we got to look at ourselves. If we want to change things, we need to be curious and try new things and find other ways to help students succeed in their learning. So be curious, not judgmental.
Excellent. Great billboard. All right, Mike, last question. And again, maybe with all the work that you're doing and everything, I mean, you've got, gotLearning, gotFeedback, and then of course you're going to be working with NVIDIA. So maybe let's just say that in between all of that, then you definitely decide to get the gotLearning podcast up, and then of course I got the honor of being your first guest. So what might be one question you'd like to ask me?
Well, it would be cliche for me to say a billboard for you, because that's what you'd expect me to do. I would have to say, I'd have to say is how, one of my key things that I really like is I love to have joy in the classroom. So I would, because once there's joy, there's so many things going right. That doesn't mean entertain the kids. That doesn't mean it has to be goofy and funny, whatever, but it should be joy. How do you, I would ask, how do you bring joy to the classroom, or how do you bring joy to your school, or in a way, or how do you change the culture so it's a very positive, it's a great culture for learning? What is one thing that is like
Yeah.
your superpower for that?
Yeah, no, most definitely. And you know what? And I thank you for asking that question, because my experience in this last month is actually having to go back to my math teacher, self, and, having, since state testing season is here, having to go work with some small groups and working with students. And, I got the opportunity to work from kinder all the way through sixth grade, which is great, and doing a little afternoon program with them as well. But I was telling people, like, this brings me so much joy. Like, when it reminded me of when I was in the classroom. And at first, I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little nervous, because I hadn't been in a classroom with students in a long time. And I mean, I'm talking about like instruction with students. But when I first got in there, it was like as if I never left. And it was like, it's cliche as it sounds, it was that riding a bike moment where you just don't forget. But I think what brought me the most joy is that the students that I was working with, them seeing somebody that they normally don't see in their school, giving them instruction and having to build that rapport. And then at the end of the day, you see them again and they're giving you fist bumps, and the students are asking, "Hey, are you going to come back tomorrow?" And those things. I think it's just really having that passion for what you're doing, and really, really genuinely caring. And so I think that because I am that kind of person that has that servant's heart, serving that community from kinder all the way through six, I definitely pour myself out. But then you see that fruit, and that brings me joy, because I see them smile. I saw kids that started off in the morning kind of bad, because they bring a heavy backpack with them, as far as
Yeah.
home, what they have from home. But then by the end of the day, I see them smiling, and they're like, "Hey, Mr. M," and fist bump, "Are you going to be here tomorrow?" And they get excited when you tell them, "Yeah, I'm going to be here tomorrow." And so I think it's just that for me, it's just that caring and that servant's heart that brings me joy. But then that also floods their hearts with joy, because I definitely want to make it memorable for them. So yeah, I think that's the superpower there.
There you go. Awesome. It's a great superpower
Awesome.
to have, man.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks, Mike. I really appreciate that question. Wonderful question. And again, Mike, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you.
Thank
I
you for having
definitely,
me on your show.
yes, definitely. And again, for the next one, and I'm going to say it here publicly. Now, when you take that next step after NVIDIA, and now you
Can't
get
wait.
that much bigger, definitely want to have you back. So that way you can go ahead and continue to share that story, to
I want
see
to
what Mike Rutherford is up to next
I
with.
can't wait to I can't wait to show you what we have designed and what we're building when it's ready to go.
Yeah,
It's some mind-blowing stuff that is just fantastic. I mean, it is
excellent.
we're very excited about it.
Awesome. Well, hey, you always have an open invite. So
Well, thank
definitely
you.
looking forward to having you share that, not only with myself, but with all our audience. So, Mike, thank you so much again. And for all our audience members that were catching us live, or those of you that are going to catch this replay, thank you as always for making my EdTech life what it is today. We do what we do because of our passion for education, and because we want to bring on some amazing guests, have some amazing conversations that will inspire all those future educators or current educators, but also so we can have some great conversations centered around what is happening in our education landscape, and how we may be able to adapt, improvise, and overcome those things, so we can continue bringing that passion into our classrooms and helping our students succeed in their future. So thank you as always from the bottom of my heart. Please make sure that you give us a like on our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on all social media at myedtech.life, and make sure that you subscribe to our podcast as well. And then that way, all the algorithms can go ahead and put us in your playlist, and, suggest our podcast to you and to all of your friends. Please make sure you stop by our website at myedtech.life, where you can check out this amazing episode and the other 196 wonderful episodes with educators and creators that you can take some knowledge nuggets from, sprinkle them onto what you are already doing great. So thank you as always. And oh, don't forget, if you'd like to support our mission, we do have a merch store where you can go ahead and set yourself up for summer conference season. We've got some great caps that'll definitely help protect you from the sun. We've got some great shirts, or if you want to prepare for that winter conference season, please stop by as well, as we also have some winter gear for you. And as always, all of that goes back into this show so we can continue to bring you the best of the best each and every week. So thank you all. And again, my friends, until next time, don't forget, stay techie.